all, thanks for everybody attending, and tonight we're live streaming the event. So hello to all those who couldn't attend, and to our regional members. We hope that whenever we do anything like this again, we'll certainly continue the live streaming option. Look, I've got a bit of a presentation I want to give you tonight. And the agenda will be my first impression. I've been here 10 weeks now, and I've certainly been able to form a fairly strong opinion around what we've got to do to move forward. Financial, I want to talk about a financial situation. I want to talk about risk, cost reductions, the way we communicate to you, the members. Looking forward, we've got some new Dogs Queensland branded merchandise that we want to launch tonight, and give you some comment on that in regards to how to order it. And then I'll certainly open the floor for questions at the end if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask. So first impressions. I guess the very first thing I said to the board when I came on board was, we're a small business that's trying to act like a corporate, and the reason why I use that is that we tend to have a corporate mindset, where as opposed to small business one. And small business, for those who are in small business, and I've got small businesses, is that you really assess every single dollar before you spend it, every single dollar has got to equate to $2, or else there's no point in doing it. And I think that's certainly a big opportunity for Dogs Queensland, and it's certainly a big opportunity for the way we do business. Our costs are increasing, but our income's dropping, and that is a real issue for us moving forward. Income, I project, will continue to drop until we change a number of things. Costs, I'll talk a little bit more about later on. We are taking some drastic measures right now to reduce costs, but eventually that will come to a grinding halt, because you can only take so much blood out of a stone before it turns into a prune. So we've got to look at some new revenue streams if we're going to survive into the future. Everything downstairs in the admin office is done manually. There is no automation at all. So there's 12 staff down there, and approximately 9 of them, all they are data entry operators right now. Now we can put some automation in place to fix that, but we're going to need some understanding and some help from the membership base, because a lot of the stuff that we're going to have to do is going to have to go online, so we can put that in play. There's no plan to improve productivity, and there's nothing. I'll show you a slide shortly, which I call the profit wedge. And when I talk about productivity, it doesn't mean you've got to run faster. It just means you've got to work smarter in regards to what you do. The very high risk from a safety perspective. We've got no training records. HR documentation's poor, and our general liability across the board is at really, to be honest, at a really low level, and it puts the organisation at massive risk. We're very asset rich. This land that we're standing on right now is worth millions of dollars, but we're actually quite cash poor, and I'll touch on that later. And there's no 5 to 10 year financial plan, so there's no plan about even Durac in regards to how we want that to look in 5 or 10 years' time. There's no financial plan in regards to how we're going to project our income versus our expenditure, even for the next 2 to 3 years, and that's something that we're going to definitely have to look at. So, I guess my current focus, and this has been my sole focus in the last 10 weeks, is I guess obviously improve our financial situation, and that's not something that's going to happen overnight. And the stuff we're putting in place today, a lot of it's going to give us an outcome in maybe 12 months' time, and certainly reduce our level of risk for the organisation, for the board of directors, and certainly for the members. So, I don't know if any of you have ever seen a profit wedge before, but pretty simple really. This is a very healthy one, by the way. So your sales revenue is increasing, but your actual expenses are dropping. And in some businesses, they look at their expenses as a percentage to the total sales. If they're dropping, they're happy with that, even though the dollars are going up. But your sales are increasing at a far greater rate of knots to overcome that. So that's a healthy profit wedge. This is ours. So the top line is our income, okay? And the bottom line is our expenditure. And as you can see, halfway through last year, we crossed the line. And that's when we started going into the negative territory. That's when we started to lose money. All right? So I'll show you the next slide. It probably helps you understand. You can spot the difference. A profit wedge is the exact opposite to the healthy one I showed you before. All right? So you can do actually three things. One is you can increase your sales, because if you increase your sales, generally speaking, your expenses will drop as a percentage of your total sales, and that will make your profit wedge look nice again, and your profits will increase. The big drama that we have is our income's dropping, and there's a couple of reasons for that, which I'll touch on a bit later. So, this, I've taken your profit and loss for the last 5 years, okay, and I've graphed it. So this is 2013 right up to 2017. You can see this is a EBIT line, or a surplus line as we call it. Okay, you can see we crossed the negative chart mid last year. All right. So if you take that line and you take that trend, okay, we're probably going to lose between $1 and $1.5 million in the next 5 years. We'll probably use, my guess, our term deposits in the bank on capital expenditure, which is what we're using right now. So effectively, we've got 5 years until we have to sell our fixed assets. Now, our only fixed asset after we sell Fortitude Valley is the one that we're on right now. That's the only fixed asset we have. So the reason why I'm showing you this is, one, because I want to be really, really honest with everybody and let you all know exactly the situation that we're in. And the fact that, you know, we're going to have to make some unpopular decisions over the next 12 to 24 months to get this back on track. But the good news is, I haven't come across anything yet that I don't think we can fix. So it's all fixable. It's just we're going to have to put some systems and processes and procedures in place to get it back on track. So financially, we've redone this year's budget. Look, income, again, if you take it on trend lines, income will drop by about another 5%. So our income will drop by about another $120,000 this year. Our total costs, with the work that we've been doing over the last 10 weeks and the projected works that we'll do for the rest of this year, our total costs will drop 4%. So that's about $90,000. It would have been double that, but we're going to do some other works that we need to put in play, which will save us more money again next year. So we're actually investing money to save money next year and the year after. And, you know, we'll post about another loss of plus $80,000. That's where we'll be this year. The good news is that with the saving initiatives that we'll put in play this year, we'll return to surplus again in 2019. However, that may not continue moving forward, because if your income continues to drop, okay, you can only pull so much in expenses out, okay? So yep, we'll get back to surplus in 2019, maybe 2020, but we're going to have to start looking at additional revenue streams if we're going to survive. So this just gives you a bit of an idea financially where we sit today. You know, if we sell Fortitude Valley and it's gaining a lot of interest, I spoke to the real estate agent today. I think he's been up for 3 weeks now. We've had 9 viewings with 3 really interested parties looking at it. So they're telling us between 790 and 860, but say we get 800,000 for it. You know, we've got term deposits at the moment around about 1.35 million. That takes, I guess, tucked away cash to 2.15 million. And at the moment we've got operating accounts of about $439,000 that we've got sitting in an operating account. And to be honest, probably half of that could probably go on a term deposit now. But, like I said to the board, what we're getting from an interest rate perspective in term deposits right now is virtually nothing because cash is so cheap. The value of Durack, we got Durack valued. It's been valued at $11 million, but I can assure you that developers would pay probably 2.5 times that amount for this block of dirt. We're zoned emerging community, and if you look at the planning in this area, it's all subdivided blocks past the very bottom plot of the property. So I guess, and it's a question I've been asking myself since I've come on board, is how, I said before, we're asset rich but we're cash poor. How do we use those assets to generate income? I don't have the answer yet, but it's something that we are discussing at board level, and it's something that Rob and I are working on every day at the moment to see how can we turn that $11 million into an income moving forward. Because the plans we put in play today, it would be really, really silly to think that we'll work really, really hard this year and we'll get into surplus next year and the year after, but it's not about those 2 years, it's about 5 and 10 years and 15 years down the track. Because, as I've said since I've come on board, I think all of us in the room have got a responsibility to leave this club in a financially stable, healthy position for the younger generation to enjoy the club the same way as what we all have. And that's the responsibility that we're charged with. So financial, this is just some of the stuff that we've been working on. We've reviewed all current contracts in place. Printers, which cost a fortune. We've got 2 downstairs. I reckon we can get by with 1. The problem is we're locked into a 3-year contract. So we made it very clear, because the printer company wouldn't budge in the contract, that they won't even be considered at the end of the 3 years. We'll go somewhere else. So they've lost our business. Insurance. Our insurance is $122,000 a year. I asked if we could pay it on a monthly basis to help us with cash flow. They wanted to charge us 5% interest. We've been with them for 10 years. So we're looking elsewhere at the moment, and we'll look at a couple other insurance companies and we'll put it out to tender. The problem I have, and I'll talk about it a little bit later on right now, is when I talk to the insurance company and anybody else in Dogs Queensland, nobody can tell me are we under or over insured, because we've never actually done the workshop around what we need to insure and what we don't need to insure. So that's something that we're going to look at over the next 12 months. We've looked at bank fees. The fact is, right now I think we're across 2 or 3 different banks. We need to get that into one. There's umpteen bank accounts that are open, and we're going to bring that back into one account. That will save us an absolute fortune on bank fees. And for all the committees, with the new accounting software that we're going to put in, every single committee will have their own ledger. And as money comes in and goes out, that will automatically update the ledger, and the treasurers will more than happily give them access to Xero. It's called the platform, and you'll have access to that ledger anytime you want to go and have a look at it. But we've got to get those bank accounts back in line, because they're costing us an absolute fortune. Obviously, I know there's been a lot of talk around the membership base, around the structure and the team downstairs. Like I said before, we've got 9 data entry operators downstairs. I would sooner have 9 individuals who provide services to clubs and shows as opposed to data entry operators. And we can do that, but it means we're going to have to automate a lot of things and put a lot of things online. I know my first 3 weeks, the first thing I did was actually spent a half day with every single person downstairs and had a look at what they do every single day. And that's part of the reason why we've made some of the moves and redundancies that we've had to make over the last few weeks. Unfortunately, we had to make Minka Harrison redundant today. So we're down a few people at the moment, but we're in the process of a restructure. You just bear with me for another couple of months, because I can assure you at the end of all of this, and particularly at the end of the automation that we put in place, the team that we'll have in place, I think, will be much more service focused, because they'll have the time to be service focused as opposed to task focused, which is what they're doing right now. Because every time you ring in, they're in the middle of doing something from a data entry perspective, and they miss things, they make mistakes because they're on the telephone to you. I'll talk about the review of the Dog World magazine. The Dog World magazine is one of the biggest drains that we have on our expenses every year right now. I'll talk about that a little bit about that later on, and what we intend to do moving forward. This might not be popular, but I'll explain to you later why we have to do it, and if we don't, where that'll take us from 5 years that I put up there. It'll pull us even closer to where we are right now. I've spoken to 2 individual businesses who help not-for-profit organisations around gaining government, foundation and trust grants, because there's a lot of works that we can do, and I know they're not particularly popular with us right now, but I've developed a relationship with the RSPCA CEO, and they get between $300,000 and $400,000 a year in grants. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be getting our fair share of that neither. So that's underway, and that'll help us do, I guess, fix things on site, but it'll also help us rebuild things. And certainly, have somebody mentioned the library before. I'll talk a little bit about that later on when we talk about the footprint. But it will help, that those type of grants will help and build facilities that can house a library and a museum. Cost-benefit analysis on every major spend. That's, it's like I said before, we're a small business trying to act like a corporate, and it's really, really important that we do a cost-benefit analysis when we're going to spend $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on something. So we know that it's going to return, a profit. It's going to return us $2 for that every one that we spend. Office costs, obviously cleaning, paper, phone, I guess, and you'll see it later on, but I removed the cleaner from the office downstairs because I don't mind vacuuming my office personally once a week, and I don't mind spraying and wiping my own desk once a week, but that's $10,000 a year. Just something as small as that can put 10 grand back into the bank account, which takes that $80,000 down to $70,000. And every $5,000 or $10,000 that you find, if you work hard and you look for those opportunities, all of a sudden you get down to that zero line again, and all of a sudden you're back into profitability. The direct costs, the grounds amenity. I mean, this facility loses money, and it has done for a long time. I'm looking at it right now. I'm thinking it's a wonderful facility. We've obviously done a bit of work inside here, and we're committed to doing more. But it's how do we make this facility profitable? Because it is a drain. It is a massive drain, and I'll give you some numbers later on. The ANKC database. So this is a bit of a critical one for us. So there may be an online call for a petition and your support at some point with this one. Right now, the team downstairs are the only ones that have actually got access to the back end of the NKC database. So every time we do a puppy litter registration, in most cases, a lot of you handwrite them and send them in, and then we've got someone downstairs, and 16,500 times, because that's how many we do a year, they punch it into a computer. All right? Imagine if we could provide that facility online so you didn't have to handwrite it, and it was a nice simple form to do online. Okay? So when the form came to us, we just had to check the form and press submit. We'd nearly get rid of a full-time person. When I'm saying get rid of a full-time person, I'm saying that's another full-time person that we could maybe give to Helen in marketing, because marketing people generate income. All right? So it kind of makes sense to remove those data entry operators into salespeople. All right, so this is a really, really, really big one for us. The other one too, with the new zero accounting platform that we're going to put in, it has to talk to the ANKC database, because when we put a puppy litter registration through, it's got to pick up the payment. And then once it picks up the payment from the puppy litter registration, it then moves that money or data into the correct ledgers, so we know exactly what's going on. And this could generate further labour savings of about $100,000 a year. And I haven't put this into my savings yet, because we're requesting that I go to the ANKC June conference. We met with Tracy, the administrator, up here a couple of weeks ago. I gave her a whiteboard presentation on what this is costing us, what it could potentially save us, and basically we're not going to take no for an answer because we have to get access to it. Tracy asked me to put a submission together to send down to the NKC. I said I'm not going to put a submission together because I don't believe it'll get through. I'll come down, I'll do the whiteboard presentation. I think I'll be far more convincing if I get the opportunity to do that. But please understand that this is a very, very critical piece for us to get access to this. And our developer who looks after our website, it's as simple as just putting an API key into their back end. I know that might sound a little bit confusing, but it's not a big job. And we will happily give them a legal letter that says if we break it, we will fix it and we will pay the cost to fix it. So we're giving them all the guarantees, so there's no reason why we shouldn't get it. Dog World magazine. Now, I said this might be a little bit controversial, but this costs us, we lose $113,000 per year, and the loss is going up by about 10 or 15% every year. Printing costs, advertising costs, we just don't recoup enough money to cover the cost. If we don't do this, the 5 years I showed you before, that will drop to 3. That's where it is. We'll lose probably between 500,000 and 600,000 if we don't take this approach with the Dog World magazine. So we're saying we go from monthly to quarterly. Our last monthly edition will be in April. Online only. We can get you hard copies, but there will be a small charge for that. What we will do is we'll definitely improve the content and size, because when I go through the Dog World magazine and I cross out schedules and adverts and the likes, there's really not much in there. So Helen and I have been talking about what does the content in the new magazine look like, and we want to have an article in there every quarter on genetics, behaviour, obedience, that type of stuff. So it's not an article just on a particular breed, because again, the feedback I've had, unless you're into that particular breed of dog, you generally don't read the article anyway. So we want to make it, a magazine that is worthy of a read. Like I said before, the current costs, it's about 167, but then you've got to chuck in 50,000 a year, which it costs us in labour costs to produce it. It's about 217,000. We get around about 100,000 income from it, so it makes about 113,000 loss. If we go to what I'm saying, it's about 30 grand in labour, and our projected income drops down to 30, but it becomes break even. We break even, but we stop losing $113,000 a year. And that $113,000 is $125,000 next year, by the way. All right. At Durac, it incurred a net loss of $82,000 in 2017. We're projecting a potential $100,000 loss for this particular financial year. The income we project, and again we're just purely going on trends that we've seen come from the last 5 years, the income we project to drop by about $30,000 this year. So, I haven't moved, sorry. There we go, we're on Durac now. The clubhouse, if you can appreciate the cleaning, the canteen, Rob and I, on weekends now, we give the show manager a feedback form. We get those feedback forms on Monday morning, and we generally walk the grounds. We get a lot of complaints about ants, as you're aware. So we look at the different areas where the ants have been found. We check that is the case, and then we bait them again, and hopefully over a period of time. I don't think we'll ever get rid of the ants, but we'll certainly reduce them. But one of the things we have done is we've obviously cleaned up in here, and our next area is the canteen and the cafeteria. So we had a professional cleaner come in yesterday to see us. These are guys who come in with the backpacks and the steam wands, and it's going to take a team of people 2 days to clean the kitchen and the canteen and the 2 barbecue areas at a cost of $2,500. But we have to do it because the filters in there, I don't know if you've had a look at them recently, but there's actually grease running out the filters because they haven't been cleaned in such a long time. I'll be really honest with you, I even considered taking over the canteen and hiring a catering manager and looking after it myself. But we wouldn't make any money. In fact, we'd lose money because we'd have to pay wages, whereas the clubs, your volunteers manage that. But one of the things we will do as part of the new safety management risk program is that we will have a proper documented induction program. We will relaunch the link for the safety food handling certificate. Kevin's job on a Saturday morning will be to take whoever's doing the canteen through that induction program, view the safety food certificate, write the number at the bottom of the induction, and both parties sign it. And if there's no food safety certificate, well, we can't allow anybody to use the canteen that day. I mean, we'll give you all plenty notice when this is going to take place. And then the other one will be a cleaning checklist. Because if you can appreciate, we're a facility that's losing $80,000, $90,000 a year. I'm happy to get it commercially cleaned maybe once a year. But if we've got to do that 2 or 3 times a year, that's another $7,500 that we're going to chuck on top of the kitty that we're losing right now. It needs a documented maintenance program. We had an electrician come in just recently to test and tag everything that needed to be tested and tagged, and he was here for nearly a day. We also got a full audit done on the grounds and Durack, and I think, Rob, there was 50 plus items, electrical work that need doing across the grounds. Now obviously we can't afford to jump in and do all 50, so we're looking at the most urgent things first. And we'll do them, and then we'll work our way through the non-urgent items. I guess the big one is the discussions we've had at the board meeting is that we're going to form a working party because we need to have a Durack footprint. We need to know and understand what it should look like in 5 years' time and 10 years' time, and document that. So then we spend our money wisely. So instead of just off the cuff doing things, we've actually got a 5 and 10 year plan about how we spend money and what we want to build, where we want to build it, and when we want to build it. That will definitely save us money in the long term. And look, the big one is, I come from a corporate background. Can I tell you, corporate businesses fall over themselves to try and find places like this for a conference. We're half an hour from the city, 45 minutes from the airport. We're kind of semi-rural. I mean, yep, sure, we could modernise the place a bit, but it's a fantastic facility. These are the type of places that corporates look for conferences, places look like for training venues, and even weddings and function dinners and lunches and that type of thing. So I would think at some point we will definitely hire an events organiser, and I'm predominantly thinking about somebody who's from that industry, who's got people or ex-clients that they know, so they can go door knocking and they can say, hey, I'm working for Dogs Queensland right now and they've got this fantastic facility at Durack, and they don't charge like a wounded bull. Why don't you come and have a look at it? I'm pretty sure that if we do that, I'm pretty sure over the next 2 or 3 years we can actually get Durack into, I don't think it'll ever make a fortune, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it'll be making a loss. So cost reduction, this just gives you a bit of an idea around, I guess, some of the savings that we've made so far. The labour costs, $225,000. Obviously we've had to make some redundancies. That does not include, I might like to add, the $100,000 plus saving that we'll get if we get access to the NKC database. And the reason why I haven't included that in there yet, if we get access in June or July, it's going to take a developer probably about 6 months to develop the online forms and the online portal for you to be able to go in and do all the work. That saves us doing that data entry. So that's going to come next year. But this year it'll be $225,000. PPR, I used to work for Bunnings. We used Bunnings and PPR, and I used to ask what did they do for us back then, and I came here and asked the same question. Virtually they were doing the odd press release and 2 or 3 Facebook posts, and guess what, we're doing that ourselves right now from the office. And when I look back at the posts they're doing versus the posts that we're doing right now, we're actually getting a higher engagement score than what they were getting. That's just between Helen, Michael and myself sitting down once a week and saying, okay, so what are we going to do this week? We haven't done a competition for a few weeks, let's do another one, maybe a giveaway or something like that. So that's working really well for us and saving us $73,000 a year. Contract gardening, at the moment we have Kevin, who's full-time. We have a contractor who comes in, he charges $55 an hour. Great guy, does a great job for us. But today we employed a second grounds person, casual, and he's $25 an hour. And he's got a horticultural background, so he understands chemicals, fertilisers, weeds, different types of grass. And even just after today, the feedback that Rob got from him was very, very promising. So I think he'll actually save us more money than just the $30 that we're saving per hour as opposed to paying a contractor. The annual costs around Fortitude Valley, that's $13,000 when you take rates and body corporate and all those type of things. So hopefully we can sell it pretty quickly. Like I said before, the office cleaning, one simple thing, there's $10,000. The magazine, that's $113,000. So when you add all of that up, just by doing those few things, there's $444,000 that we can save. Again, further potential savings from the grants program. We're unsure as of yet, because when we decide who the grants person is going to be, we're going to have to do a 1 or 2 day workshop with them around all the things that we want to do on site. And then they'll put a plan together and they'll give us an indication of how much we're going to get each month and each year. Risk and governance. So this one's already underway, and I think I put it in my last CEO note to everybody, but the ground staff and volunteers, we don't have safe operating procedures for anything. So God forbid anything like this ever happens, but if we have a fatality on site and we've got to go to court to defend the club, we're going to be in real trouble. Because we've got no training documents, we've got no safe operating procedures, nothing. So we've got Marcel, who's from IMCS. She's a private operator. She's been taken on board. She's working with us 3 days a week at the moment. She's done her first week. She spent time with every staff member downstairs. And she's done a complete site audit for us, which she's presenting to Rob and I tomorrow morning. And that will then determine what comes from there. But even things like on-site contractors, the minute a contractor comes over the front gates, we are responsible for them. But we don't have any induction process for them, sign-in process for them, or anything. So again, if they injure themselves, or God forgive, there's a fatality, we're liable. There's no site safety checks. There's no office fire evacuation. There's no injury register. There's no training records. There's incident reports for clubs and weekends, but we've got nothing for the staff downstairs. So if you can appreciate this, when I presented this to the board, they were obviously very, very, very uneasy about the situation because of the office that they hold and the impact it can have on them personally. So the safety risk program's underway. I think it'll probably take a good couple of months for us to get everything in place and documented, but at least we've got it in place. So if anything does happen between now and then, we can still prove that we're actually trying to do something to reduce our risk to our volunteer staff and contractors. Insurance, I mentioned before, no one can tell me if we're underinsured or overinsured. The only way we can get to the bottom of that is if we spend a couple of days and workshop every single function that we do. Now, and that is a laborious, awful job to do, but I think it's really important because for all we know, we could be paying 20 grand a year more than what we should be, or even worse still, we could be underinsured. So when we go to make a claim on something, we might only get 75 or 80% of what we're actually claiming for. The breach process, the big issue I see with the breach process is the length of time that it takes, and I've got to put my hand up here and say that a big part of that is the office's fault downstairs. We've had situations where documents have sat on desks for up to 60, 70 days. So Rob and myself, Ainsley and Tim and Jeff have been working on a new process. So we've actually put together a proper flow chart now with number of days beside each part of the process. And I'll endeavour to make sure that that's kept to date. But even when you do that, a simple breach, like going to a breach panel, is still going to take 3 months. And if it goes to appeal, it can take up to 5 or 6 months. There's no way around it. And to be really, really honest, when I look at the process, it's such a robust process. But I think, given the penalties involved, I think that we need them, to be really honest. But the commitment that I'll certainly give you tonight is that it will be administered much better than what it has been in the past. I mentioned before the canteen. That cleaning will take place before the Anzac Day show and dusk service. So my guess is the first club, I think we're doing it ourselves, they'll be the first ones to use the induction and the cleaning checklist and the likes. But we should have it up and running by then. There's no staff policies and procedures. I think the only thing we've got is a sexual harassment policy. So we've now got an employee handbook which covers everything from smoking to using, their computer for personal use, to social media, to informing us when they're sick. It's quite a lengthy document, but we went through that line by line with every single staff member downstairs. And that's all signed and on the files now. So at least we've got some policies and procedures in place. So member communication, so paw prints. So we're sending this out weekly now. I do a fortnightly CEO note, which I'll continue to do. I don't intend to stop that at any given time, because I think it's a great way for me to communicate the work that we're doing downstairs to help improve the organisation. And the open rate's been in the 60-70% mark on this particular email, which my wife's got an online business, and when she sends an email newsletter and she gets 10% open rate, she's jumping up and down high-fiving. So to get a 60-70% open rate, and that's been ongoing, it hasn't dropped off, I think tells us that the communication has been taken very, very well. One of the works that we have taken is we've looked at our current website, and we need to look at this particularly if we're going to automate a lot of the forms, so they're online. We're certainly looking at the moment to update it to a really nice, clean, fresh look. We're in the process at the moment where we're looking at what you call a site map. So it's what are the menu items, and then what are the drop-down boxes under it. And we're really trying to make it as simple as possible. And the mantra that I've given to our website designer, is the least number of clicks possible. The other thing that we'll invest heavily in the website is a much better search function. So you can buy search functions that actually self-educate themselves. So the more times members go on there and type in certain things, you'll get suggestions dropping up underneath it. And you might see the thing you're after, or it might be just underneath, or it might be 3 or 4 under. But the terminology or the terms that are searched for more often are the ones that will come up first. And that will make it much easier to use. The same as, we won't have the 2014-2015 annual reports in there. We'll probably have the last couple of years up there. And, you can request that type of information from us. But we're just trying to clean it up, have the least amount of historical content on there as possible, which makes it easier to navigate around. The other thing that we will add in is an e-commerce checkout cart. So if you're doing a puppy litter registration on there, or you're doing your membership renewal, you don't have to do it twice and pay twice. You'll just add it to your cart, and then at the end of it you can just go in and pay it in one hit. Certainly, I spoke about digitalising all forms. To digitalise all the forms it'll take us a couple of years, but the big ones, litter registrations, memberships, transfers, we've got 6 that we see as the first 6 that we'll do. Like I said before, we need the access to the NKC database. We need our website to talk to the NKC database if we're going to make this work. And the other way that we make this work is that as a member, you initially you will log in as a member. So you have your membership number, you'll create a password, and you'll be able to see things that non-members won't be able to see. Okay, so, and that kind of leads on to the next thing. I've actually got a long background in online businesses, and you know, to have a successful online business, one is you need to have an audience. You need to have traffic that come to your website. Well, we've got 6,500 members, and you need to have an audience that wants something. Well, we've all got dogs. And you've got to be trusted. Well, you know, I mean, I would say we're fairly well trusted. So they're the three components to having any successful online business. So once you've got that, the rest is easy because it's just a case of developing a website platform. It's about then us going and talking to a number of different suppliers. And I'm not even talking about having a picking and packing function here on site, because the only suppliers that we'll talk to are the ones that will drop ship for us. So essentially, you'll place your order with us. We'll have them collated downstairs by someone, and then we will send them off to the individual suppliers, and they'll deliver it to your homes for you. Now, the reason why I say that you log on to the website is, as a member, if you log on, and you're logged on, and you go, the website, the online website will be a separate page to the main website, and because you're a member, you'll get a discount. And you know, my view on the online store is that, yeah, of course we've got to make a profit, but we don't have to make a fortune, because I really see the online store as, one, helping to retain members because they're getting pretty damn good discounts, and two, it actually helps attract new members. So as a non-member, we will Google advertise the website, you know, on the internet. Anybody can go and buy it, but if you want your 15-20% discount, well, you've got to become a member. So that's a real opportunity for us moving forward. So the redesign is underway. It's underway right now. You won't see any changes for months because it is a long, drawn-out process. And like I said, we have to get access to the NKC database. This is just a bit of an image that Michael has just drawn up on, you know, what we think it could look like. A much fresher look, potentially, you know, new store products, you know, that type of stuff. And we want the website front page will kind of change every month depending on the season, you know, what's coming up. So it won't be the same Drabble website that you log on to and it looks the same way every single time. So looking forward, I think there's internal and external opportunities for us. And before I go into this, I just want to remind everybody that we've got an administration office downstairs. So we've got an on-site administration office who can manage, I don't care what it is, we can manage anything that we want. But like I said before, definitely employ an events coordinator to sell this venue. I think that's kind of at the top of the list at the moment, because that will generate income and get this facility at a break-even point. You know, the online dog product and retail store, there's no reason why we can't have, if we're going to have an online store, there's no reason why we can't have a retail store. Certainly an on-site vet clinic and groomer and doggy daycare. I mean, and again, at the moment, this facility is busy on a Saturday, Sunday, but it is dead from a Monday to Friday. And like I've been saying to the board, wouldn't it be great to think in 2 or 3 years' time that because we've got these things in place that we've just got this constant stream of traffic coming to the facility. And again, you know, with these, whether it's the vet, doggy daycare or the groomer, you know, the fact that you're a member, well, you get a discount. You get a discount to use that facility. And we'll make sure that it's a generous discount. Again, we're not in a situation where we have to make millions of dollars out of this. But we certainly do make a profit from it, of course we do. But again, it's another reason to be a Dogs Queensland member and stay a Dogs Queensland member moving forward and attract new members as we go along. Some rough numbers, and again they're very, very rough numbers. If we had that in play, we'd probably make about $500,000. That's not revenue, that's profit, about $500,000. So that negative 80, 100, 120 that's going to grow to 250, 300, all of a sudden that just disappears. And we could have this up and running in a couple of years' time. The other one, like I said before, is, and this is more a long-term thing, and I think if we don't do it, I think we'll be in the same situation in 5 or 6 years' time where, we're showing you another graph with the profit wedge going the wrong way, is that unless we start to look at some external investments that have got really, really strong cash flow, I think we'll have problems, to be honest. I mean, obviously, at some point, we're going to identify try to identify and try to put some things in place around why our show entries are dropping. Because that's seems to be the biggest decrease that we have across the organisation at the moment. But that's going to take a long time to fix. It's not something we're going to fix overnight. These things, there's some short-term stuff here, a couple of years, but the longer-term stuff is definitely the long-term investments external to the organisation. And a lot of not-for-profit organisations do them. And can I say that profit is not a bad word in not-for-profit? It's actually a good thing, because, wouldn't it be great to think that we're in a situation where we've got those external investments, and we've got surpluses of $700,000–800,000 a year, and we're in a situation where we can afford to put a grants program to come back to the clubs and say we've got $300,000 that we want to give back, and we're going to give it back via a grants program. That's the situation that we want to be in moving forward. We don't want to be scrimping and saving. Or, we're in a situation where we can afford to send some directors and members to, overseas to do a study tour and look at administrations over there and how they conduct dog shows, and then bring that information back here so we can improve our club. We can't afford to do that right now. But if you want to get serious about long-term improvements and make your club much more successful, that's the type of stuff that you want to do. Alrighty, so that kind of covers the main part of my presentation. The last 3 slides, and we've got some garments to show you up here. Obviously, it's our 70th birthday anniversary this year. So what we've done is we've put a bit of a wardrobe together, which we'll get out to everybody sometime in the next couple of weeks. I've got the grey shirt on tonight. So for men, there's a grey and white colour like this. For the ladies, there's a 3/4 length shirt that comes in blue, white and charcoal. We've got a polo shirt for men and ladies. They come in, I think, 5 or 6 different colours each. And we've got which I think will probably be the most popular, is a polar fleece vest, which come in a number of different colours. And then you've got some caps, and we've got some water bottles too. Look, they're pretty reasonably priced. We're making a small profit on them, not a huge amount. But we've managed to keep the polo shirts down to $24.99. And we'll do, with this stuff, we'll probably do an open to buy for a month. So when I say an open to buy, that'll give you an opportunity to get your orders into us over a month period. We'll collate the orders. We'll do one bulk order with the supplier. He's kept his prices down if we do it this way. And then we'll maybe call on some volunteers to come and give us a hand one day, and we'll set up tables in here, and we'll pick and pack all the orders and then mail them as well. And then you've got the caps. What we've done with the caps is, rather than putting the 70th anniversary in the front, we've put it on the back. They're $15 each. And then you've got your water bottle for $7 each. So we got some samples rushed through. So at the end of the night, if you want to go and have a look at them, you're more than welcome. So I guess that's kind of the end of my presentation. I guess I just want to end on that. I haven't seen anything that's not fixable, and I know, and I really wanted to be really honest with all of you tonight. And I think it's really important that you know our current financial situation, and and that's the thing, to be really frank, that's eating up all of our time at the moment, is the financial stuff and the risk stuff, and obviously trying to manage the Durack property as well.